What's up guys, Damien here, 1, 2, and 2, and today's a discussion video. But first, I just celebrated 5K subscribers, so if you haven't checked out my music video Mulan parody, check that out. But today's discussion is about pendulums. It's been a couple years, like 2 or something like that, since we first ever saw one of those double colored cards, and everyone flipped their shit thinking that it was going to be the end of the game. Nowadays, I would say the general consensus is that the pendulum mechanic is very annoying, but there is no tier 1 pendulum deck currently, so we don't have to worry much about it. However, does that mean pendulums are still very good for the game? Earlier today, on the Long Island Railroad on my way to work, I was testing Dynamist, because Dynamist is a pendulum deck, and Marion and Ryan were talking to me about it, and I thought that was kind of a cool deck because it's level 5s and 4 water machines, which lets you play Bahamut Shark and Cyber Dragon Nova, which means you can then play Tree Toad and Infinity. Just let that one sink in for a sec. All because you can just pendulum summon a boatload of monsters. And I find myself not having very much fun. As cool as it was to have Tree Toad and Infinity on board and laugh at my opponent as he struggled to respond, it really made me feel like, I don't know, dirty. Marion and Ryan, however, are adamant players of Odd Eyes Magicians, and even they had some reservations with the mechanic, and Ryan tends to use it more for a means to an end than anything else. Synchro summoning in this case. But even still, it's very easy for this mechanic to get out of hand. The only reason why we don't have a tier 1 pendulum deck is mostly because the ban list has reined in and smacked all the generic pendulum sport down to 1 or 0. I will very tentatively put forward the opinion that Full Power Pepe would have given Dragon Rulers a run for its money. Whereas Dragon Rulers, with a couple of cards that were just kind of poorly written, they should have just banished their attribute, not attribute and or dragons. Pendulum is an entirely borked mechanic. It seems the only way that Konami can balance the thing is either A, ban the crap out of all the good cards, or limit it at least, like Monkey Board and Luster Pendulum, or use the mechanic but fill it with crappy archetypes, like my previously mentioned Dynamist, or something like Ignites. Sure, they can spam the board and get tons of advantage, but they don't really do anything themselves, especially the Ignites, so you just get a bunch of monsters and you really can't do anything with them. But that doesn't make the mechanic okay. Now, instead of just standing here complaining about pendulums, which is a kind of a tired subject at this point, I'd like to put forward an interesting opinion that would be maybe useful in order to fix the mechanic. Some people say that maybe they shouldn't go the extra deck when they're destroyed, or maybe they shouldn't go when they're tributed. I say let them do that. That's perfectly fine. But in order to balance the mechanic and let Konami be a little less stringent with the ban list and actually let pendulum decks play pendulums in the spirit of progress, we should enforce the number of cards allowed in the extra deck. Currently, you can only start a duel with 15 cards in your extra deck, but if you're playing a pendulum deck, you can just add as many as you want. It'd be very interesting to say that no, you can't add pendulum monsters to your extra deck once you hit 15 cards, which would force most pendulum players to only run 10 cards in their extra deck. This balances the mechanic because then they can't run as many useful extra deck monsters. Now you say, well, something like Cleese doesn't really need their extra deck, so that's not much of a hit for them. Well, fine. If that doesn't fix the entire problem, we could just bump the extra deck up to 20 cards. That way, other older mechanics can use 5 extra monsters instead of just the normal 15, giving them a few extra utility outs to the new mechanic in order to kind of try to balance the game a little better. Anyway, these were kind of my thoughts about the whole thing as we were kind of yammering back and forth this morning. And I'd be interested to know what you guys think of pendulums, and, you know, now that it's been going for like 2 years and you kind of let it all casserole, let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. And remember guys, if you don't troll the meta, who will? I'll see you guys next time. This is my Aqua Actress Tree Toad deck profile. The first thing you'll notice is there's actually 3 independent engines in this deck. We have the Frog engine, the Gradle engine, and the Aqua Actress engine.